YouTube, what's good, man? It's your boy Ron back with a brand new video. Today we about to react to how good was Michael Jordan actually. Now you guys probably are caught up by now. This might be, I ain't gonna say it's the last Jordan video, but this video should get it through my head that it's not get it through my head because it's through my head. I understand Jordan the GOAT, but it should make more sense of why Jordan is really the GOAT. You feel me? But look y'all. Boy, that looks so good. That 415, bro. Y'all been running the channel up so crazy, bro. Like, I really don't know what to say. I can only say thank you, bro, because y'all really don't have to watch the videos and leave comments and likes, and I don't have to do none of that. So the fact that I got 4 videos under over 1,000 views now, so I kind of feel like I'm doing something. You feel me? But if y'all boys like this video, leave a like, comment, and subscribe if you're new. But let's get straight into it, man.
Michael Jordan scored 50 points or more in the playoffs 8 times, more than Kobe, KD, LeBron, and Wilt combined. Jordan also had the most 40-point playoff games, more than Kareem, AI, Steph, and D-Wade put together. In fact, MJ is the only player in NBA history who had more 40-point career games than games where he scored less than 20 points.
That's
Jordan's
crazy as
godlike
fuck.
aura, brutal trash talk, and physical dominance put fear in opponents' hearts. And while they had to get a good night's sleep before facing the Bulls, Jordan could drink and smoke cigars before the game and still drop 40. His airness made it look easy, and he proved it when the games were on the line.
Game on the line, who would take the last shot?
Me.
28 times Jordan
I've seen that
scored the
before.
game-winning shot, including 7 game winners in the playoffs. And MJ wasn't just a scorer. He had the most first-team all-defense selections ever with 9. He's the all-time blocks leader by a guard and has the most seasons with over 200 steals with
That's
6.
crazy.
In 1989, when the Bulls lost their starting point guard, Coach Doug Collins made Jordan...
Bruh, damn, I'm mad that I didn't get to watch this, bro. Like, oh my god, I'm mad I wasn't here for this.
And he notched 10 triple-doubles in 11
Like, what,
games.
bro? I want to see that. I want to see this. Like, what? I want to see somebody drop 10 triple-doubles.
11 assists and 9.5 rebounds
Like,
per
what?
game. Between 1991 and 1996, MJ played 13 consecutive playoff series where he averaged more than 30 points per game, retiring with 6 rings, 5 MVPs, and a 6-0 record in the final. But despite his seemingly invincible legacy, Jordan did have some weaknesses. MJ led the NBA in field goal attempts 9 times during his 13 years in Chicago, and he was a bit of a ball hog, especially in his early career. Jordan
told me
also had some bad
y'all told me this in the
playoff
comments,
and he certainly wasn't
so I'm
the
aware
most
now.
pleasant teammate. So, how good was Michael Jordan actually? And is he really the GOAT? To answer that, we'll start with his genetics and God-given talent. Michael Jordan was supposed to be short. Nobody in his family was taller than 5'9", and as a high school sophomore, Michael was famously cut from his varsity basketball team because he was only 5'11".
It sounds sad, but it's true.
However, the Jordans were blessed with supreme athleticism. Just look at Michael's older brother Larry, who could dunk at 5'8". So when an unexpected growth spurt pushed Michael to 6'6", he became unstoppable. By the end of his high school career, Jordan was averaging 27 points, 12 rebounds, and 6 assists. But despite his unreal speed and athleticism, 12 rebounds
this shit was spinning up there. I know y'all see him.
and 6 assists. But despite his unreal speed and athleticism, young MJ was still an unpolished gem because he really only played 2 years of high school basketball. As a freshman at UNC, MJ averaged a modest 13 points, 4 rebounds, and 2 assists per game. He was the 3rd leading scorer on the team behind James Worthy and Sam Perkins, and his fundamentals, ball handling, and confidence weren't yet at his super high level. But all that changed in the 1982 NCAA Finals, when Michael hit a game-winning shot against Patrick Ewing, winning the national championship.
18. Shot. Jordan. North Carolina has won the 1982 NCAA championship.
Jordan said this was the biggest turning point of his career, because after that, his confidence was through the roof.
That turned my name from Mike to Michael Jordan. It gave me the confidence that I needed to start to excel at the game of basketball.
In the next 2 seasons, Jordan continued his basketball education under Dean Smith and became a complete player. He averaged 20 points per game, was a consensus first-team All-American, and as a junior in 1984, he was named Collegiate Player of the Year.
Man.
But based on his college career
tough.
alone, it was hard to predict that Jordan would reach the pinnacle of the NBA. After all, many great players who came before Michael had far better college careers, including
Wow, that picture
Kareem,
looks so
Magic,
crazy.
Bird, Bill Walton, Bill Russell, Oscar Robertson, David Thompson, Pete Maravich, and a few others. Because of his relatively modest numbers in college, and because the 80s were the era of the big men, Jordan was selected 3rd in the 1984 NBA draft, behind centers Hakeem Olajuwon and Sam Bowie.
He's only 6'6", so how much can he really do?
We wish he were 7'1", but he isn't.
However, it took just 2 practices for the Bulls coach to call the general manager and say, "You didn't mess up the draft this time."
For the first day in practice, my mentality was whoever is the team leader on that team, I'm going after him. And I'm not going to do it with my voice because I had no voice. I have to do it with the way that I play.
When the season started, it took Jordan only 3 games to score over 30 and 9 games to eclipse 40.
Like,
By the
what the fuck? Yo, huh? As a rookie, 9 games?
end of the first month,
What?
it was obvious that Jordan was supposed to be the first overall pick. While Olajuwon looked like a star, Jordan was more like a supernova because there was nobody in the league faster than him. It seemed almost unfair how he blew past opponents with just a single step who had no answer for his drives to the
That's
basket.
tough,
On
bro.
top of his speed, Jordan was also the most athletic player in the NBA with an unmatched vertical jump and hang time. When he drove to the cup, it looked like he was a fighter jet, and his quickness served as a runway for his vertical takeoff. When MJ raised up for a jump shot, it seemed like nobody was ever guarding him because the laws of gravity didn't seem to apply to Michael. Defenders could jump at the same time, but as they would inevitably fall down, Jordan would continue to float in the air and shoot completely unbothered.
How's the transition been from college to the NBA?
Well, I think it's been pretty easy.
Thanks to his high-flying feats and insane dunks,
Hey,
he
oh
quickly
my.
became the most popular player in the NBA. So it only made sense that in 1986, he got voted to the All-Star game, despite playing just 3 games up to that point due to an ankle injury. And that same year, in the playoffs, he set a playoff scoring record with 63 points against Boston.
But it was an incredible playoff performance. I've never seen it before, and I had never seen it
Gave
after.
Bird 60.
That wasn't Michael Jordan.
I didn't know he gave Bird 63. That's tough. That's
That
tough.
was God disguised as Michael Jordan.
That's
As if MJ
tough.
wasn't doing enough already,
Oh my
in 1987, MJ
Bird,
led
what
the
was he
NBA
doing
in
with that?
scoring with 37 points per game, which was
63,
and remains
bro,
the
that is
fifth best
crazy.
scoring output ever, behind only Wilt's insane scoring feats of the early 1960s.
I just want the franchise and Chicago Bulls to be respected as a team. It's very hard for something like that to happen, but it's not impossible.
Meanwhile, Jordan was miserable. Despite all the fame and individual accolades, he was always losing. In his first 3 seasons, MJ only won 1 playoff game, despite being the best player in the league. But after
That's
the Bulls
tough.
GM Jerry Krause
Basketball is
drafted
a team
Horace
sport,
Grant
though.
and Scottie Pippen, his life would change forever. In 1988, MJ averaged 35 points on 54% shooting, with 6 rebounds.
Fuck, my nigga. 35, 50. 35 points on 50% shooting. Over 50% shooting? That's crazy.
And 6 assists, winning his first career MVP. Because he also led the NBA in steals with 3.2.
Bro, it's not even that
plus
he was taking a lot of shots. He was consistent while taking a lot of shots, bro. That's tough.
1.6 blocks per game.
That's tough.
Jordan won the Defensive Player of the Year.
That's
and
tough, for
he is
sure.
still one of only 5 players ever to win Defensive Player of the Year and MVP. And after the 1988 dunk contest against Dominique Wilkins, which is considered by many to be the best of all time, some people already started
don't know.
calling him the best
Y'all,
player they
let
have
me
ever
know
seen.
if y'all, let me know how y'all feel about the 2016 dunk contest. Between this one and the
none of that
2016
mattered,
dunk
because the
contest,
most
and
important
probably
thing
the
to
one with
Jordan
Vince Carter when
was
he did
winning.
that.
And now
y'all
with
know
Pippen
exactly
and
what you're
Grant
talking
on the
about. I
team,
ain't gotta
the
explain.
Bulls had their first
But
50-win
I really don't know
season
what you want,
since
so y'all let me know.
1974.
I'm just giving my thoughts.
Chicago then
Or just
finally
what I know.
advanced in the playoffs, winning the first round over the Cavaliers. with
That
MJ
2016 dunk
averaging
contest
an
was crazy,
insane
though.
45 points per game. However, in the second round, a more experienced Pistons team defeated the Bulls pretty easily, 4 games to 1. It was proof that individual greatness doesn't translate to playoff wins.
Dunking from the free throw line is crazy,
to
though.
learn. But that didn't make him
Back
any
then,
less
dunking from the free
entertaining
throw
to
line is
watch.
crazy. I'm
In
not
the
gonna lie.
1989 season, Jordan
Dunking
hit
from the
his
free throw line
first
is crazy.
legendary shot in the NBA, simply known
And making
as
it look
the
easy
shot.
is crazy. For surely. Jordan, you got that one. For surely. From the free throw
In
line
the
and making it
second
look
round, the
easy
Bulls
is
got past the
tough.
Knicks, but they again fell victim to the Pistons, who bullied Jordan with their physicality. And in 1990, it was more of the same. MJ led the NBA in scoring and steals. He was super efficient, but the team couldn't get over the hump and get past the Detroit Pistons for a third consecutive year. In his first 6 years in the league, MJ had won 5 playoff series and lost 6, with an overall playoff record of 25 wins and 29 losses. So after that third loss to the Pistons, the media started doubting Jordan, questioning his ability to play team basketball, and wondering if he was only concerned about himself and his numbers. And in a way, they were right. In the 80s, he was often trying to score out of double or even triple teams, ignoring his wide-open teammates. In 1989, he was a capable passer, averaging a career-high 8 dimes per game. But Jordan always looked to score first and pass second. And he wasn't like Magic, Jokic, or Doncic, who manipulate defenses with their eyes and fake defenders into wrong coverages. Jordan's passing was more reactive. He got rid of the ball only when he saw that somebody was wide open. And since Jordan was like a black hole that sucked all the defensive attention, when he did opt to pass, it was usually for an easy
how you
dunk.
playing now.
But
I see. He just broke it down for me. Hold on, cause I do. Getting a defense with your eyes, low key works like a motherfucker. I'm not gonna lie, but what he doing, that works too.
Was wide open. And since Jordan was like a black hole that sucked all the
what Jordan doing right now
attention,
works a lot.
He did opt to pass.
Like passing
it
the
was
last
usually
minute,
for
bro.
an easy dunk. But despite MJ's ridiculous
Man,
scoring
think about
numbers,
it.
the Bulls' offense was always average during the 80s, and they were actually at their best in 1986, when Mike missed 80% of the season due to an ankle injury. It wasn't until 1990, the arrival of Phil Jackson and the emergence of Scottie Pippen, that the Bulls' offense cracked the top 5 in the NBA. Pippen's passing and pushing the ball in the open court created lots of space for Jordan, who could finally trust someone else to make plays for him consistently. But Pippen's value was maybe even more pronounced on the defensive end. With an enormous wingspan, agility, and a motor to cover multiple players on one possession, Scottie was just what Michael was missing. Pip's presence allowed Michael to play free safety on defense, jump into passing lanes for steals, and he didn't need to waste his energy guarding the best opposing player, because Scottie usually did that. And after agonizing defeats against the Pistons, MJ decided to bulk up, which was unprecedented at the time. Players didn't spend much time in the gym, and if you look at all the players in the 80s, they looked lean, but hardly anyone was super muscular. So when MJ returned for the 1991 season, he was still super quick, athletic, and could contort his body in the air like no one else. But this time around, he was also much stronger, which allowed him to absorb contact better and bully smaller players with his size. What also helped Michael was the arrival of coaches Phil Jackson and Tex Winter, who instituted the triangle offense, which was based on cutting in open spaces and playmaking out of the post.
Might just be the greatest coach of all time. Y'all let me know. Who the greatest coach of all time in the comment section? Let me know.
Optimize spacing. MJ didn't have to bring up the ball.
Phil Jackson
all
might
the
just
time
be
and
it though.
force his shots.
But y'all gotta let me know. I don't know that many coaches.
Closer to the basket,
I know the main coaches
smaller
like Greg
defenders
Pop,
and dominate like never
what's
before.
the Miami's?
Even
What's
though
the
Jordan
Miami's?
was
I forgot his
phenomenal
name.
from
How
the
do I
moment
forget
he
names?
stepped into the NBA.
I literally always forget a name.
1991, he was at his best.
And I remember it
He won
later.
his second
I don't
MVP
know his
award.
name, but I can't think
The
of his name.
91 Bulls had the
Miami's
best
coach,
offense
I
in
think
the
I
NBA,
know what I'm
and
talking
they
about.
crushed
His
the
coach
opposition in the Eastern Conference. They swept
I think he's
the
the owner
Knicks,
now.
beat the
What's his name?
76ers in 5.
Y'all know what I'm talking about. Y'all let me know in the comment section. I cannot think of his name for nothing.
This time, it wasn't even close.
But let me know who the
Detroit
best coach
was on
is
the
ever.
decline after 3 straight NBA Finals trips, while the Bulls were ascending. MJ swept Isaiah and the Pistons, who famously left before the final buzzer of Game 4, refusing to shake the Bulls' hands.
We finally got
You seen that in the last video of the NBA's greatest beef. Go check that out if y'all haven't already.
You know, this guy was a limit.
But in the NBA Finals, another legend awaited, Magic Johnson. And it seemed like the 5-time NBA champion still had the upper hand when the Lakers defeated the Bulls at home in Game 1. That is, until Phil Jackson made the adjustment to have Pippen guard Magic, which turned the series around. And in Game 2, Jordan dazzled the world with another iconic move, switching hands midair to score an acrobatic layup.
He didn't even have to do that though. That's just crazy. He could have just dunked the ball for real. Like how high he was, nobody could test it him.
With another iconic move, switching hands.
But he could have dunked the ball. Nobody could test it. He just was trying. Oh my God, MJ, that's. He was trying to turn the crowd up or something.
And at last, the championship. Jordan's hunger for an NBA ring was finally satisfied. Throughout the playoffs, MJ averaged 31 points, 8.5 assists, 6.5 rebounds, 2.5 steals, and 1.5
doing
blocks,
it all,
shooting a career-high 56% from the field.
Jordan is the
dude. Like, my nigga, this nigga's averaging 30 or shooting 50. That is crazy. Like you usually hear 40, 50, 90 shooting or something like that. You don't hear 50, 50, 90. Like, what? Like, or I'm tripping. You hear 50? Yeah, you do. I'm tripping. But damn, I'm tripping. You do hear 50, but like 54, 56.
31 points, 8.5 assists, 6.5 rebounds, 2.5 steals, and 1.5 blocks, shooting a career-high 56% from the
50, 40, 90 club. That's what I'm thinking about. Bro, 56 from the field is crazy.
Field.
Jordan is the most
in the
talented
playoffs. It's crazy.
Player in the NBA by far.
And the 1992 season was a continuation of peak form for Jordan and the Bulls. Another scoring title with super efficient shooting, first-team all-defense, and another MVP for his airness. The Bulls once again had the best offense in the NBA and won a franchise record 67 games. Chicago reached the finals against the Trailblazers, and the media pushed the narrative that Clyde Drexler was better than Jordan, because Jordan is not a good outside shooter. So MJ responded by nailing 6 threes and 35 points in the first half of Game 1, which was a finals record.
Damn. First half?
For both threes and points and a half, in what will forever be remembered as the Shrug Game. And even though Portland tied the series at 2 apiece, the Bulls were just too good, and they won the series in 6, with MJ averaging 36 points in the finals.
Oh my
After the
God.
semifinals and the Dream Team experience in Barcelona, Pippen and Jordan came into the '93 season with an empty tank. The Bulls weren't as dominant in the regular season. But even though he was tired, MJ still led the NBA in scoring, which was his 7th scoring title in a row. And he also led the league in steals. Chicago made
Doesn't
it
he
to
have
a
10 or
third
11 scoring
consecutive
titles, something like that?
where they faced league MVP
That's
Charles
crazy.
Barkley and the
He only
Phoenix
played 13
Suns, the
That's
best team in
crazy.
the regular season. Barkley was also the best player on the Dream Team, and when he won the MVP, many people believed that he could be an even better player than Michael, which pissed off Jordan. But because of the Suns' inexperience and Barkley's nasty elbow injury, the Bulls won the first 2 games on the road, and it seemed like it would be smooth sailing to the next title. However, the Suns weren't going away that easily. They won games 3 and 5 in Chicago, and they could have won game 4 too, if it wasn't for Jordan.
That motherfucker would not let me win that game.
Who buried the Suns with 55 points, the second highest scoring game in NBA Finals history.
And Michael just outplayed me. That was probably the first time in my life that I felt like there was a better basketball player in the world than me, to be honest with you.
After 5 games, it was 3-2 for the Bulls, but the remaining 2 games were to be played in Arizona.
Barkley was
In
that
game
nice
6,
for real?
the Suns had the lead.
Let me
throughout
find out. I
the
gotta do my
fourth
research
quarter,
on Barkley.
but Jordan kept the Bulls in the game, and everybody expected Jordan to take the
Chuck.
final shot to tie the game. But MJ wasn't the same stubborn player as before, and he gave up the ball early to set up an open shot for John Paxson. That was it. A three-peat, and MJ's legacy was set. Jordan finished the '93 finals with averages of 41, 8, and 6 on 51% shooting.
Bro, 40 on 50% shooting?
And 40% from 3. And this
50, 40.
This wasn't even his
He
best
was
playoff
hooping.
series statistically.
Bro,
MJ was on the
he's the
top of his
greatest
game,
ever.
and his basketball IQ, winning mentality, and physical dominance all synced in perfect harmony. Jordan showed his otherworldly ability to beat an opponent one-on-one, separate double teams, attack the rim, but also to find open teammates. If we compare the 1993 Jordan to his early NBA years, the growth was evident. When it was needed, he was pressing full court defensively. When nobody could score, he recognized it and carried the Bulls. And when he got doubled, he gave up the ball without trying to be a hero. In terms of basketball skills, Jordan was physically a much stronger player who became a master of footwork and post-up game. When he reached the desired position with his back to the basket, he'd turn and stay in the air for what felt like an hour longer than his opponent, only to hit a patented turnaround jumper clean as a whistle. The memories of anyone doubting
literally
him
one of the best shots in the NBA, bro.
Everybody
Like a
knew
post
he
fade,
was
bro.
the best player alive, and many believed after that three-peat, he was already the best of all time. My love for this game is strong. I'm going to be here as long as my love is strong, Jordan told reporters after the finals in a champagne-soaked locker room. However, just 1 month later, his father was killed, and Jordan retired from basketball for a year and a half. The love for basketball was put on hold.
I had him for 32 years, and he taught me a lot in 32 years. You know how many kids get that opportunity? Very few. In today's society, get the chance to spend that much time with their parents and get that type of influence.
18 months and a stint in minor league baseball later, and the itch for the game became too strong. So Jordan released arguably the most famous two-word press release of all time.
It came in a two-word statement which is now just begging to have a Nike campaign built around it, quote unquote, "I'm back."
And it didn't take Jordan too much time to show that he was still the god of basketball. In just the 5th game after his return, he poured in 55 points against the Knicks in the infamous double nickel game. But overall, MJ
retiring and coming back is
shot,
crazy.
Has anybody ever done that before? 41% from the field. And it turned out that playing baseball for a year and a half took a bite out of his greatness. Even the best players need to practice. And in the second round of the playoffs against Orlando, things didn't go according to plan. Even though Michael averaged 31 points on 48% shooting, the Bulls weren't as strong inside. Horace Grant, who used to be their starting power forward, was now playing for Orlando. And together with a young Shaq, the Magic simply outmuscled the Bulls in the paint. Many people will say the Bulls lost in '95 because Jordan wasn't in peak form after his baseball hiatus. And there is some truth to that. But Jordan actually averaged his usual numbers. Really, basketball is just a team sport, and they lost because Orlando was much bigger and deeper than them. Thankfully, the Bulls management knew that too.
Last week, the Bulls announced the acquisition of a player many people consider the most controversial basketball star in the NBA.
They added Dennis Rodman to the team, the best rebounder of all time, and one of the fiercest defensive players ever.
I don't care. Whatever. What's up?
A year before, they also added Steve Kerr, the most accurate three-point shooter ever. And together with a defensive dog, Ron Harper, and Tony Kukoc, who was the most versatile.
I've never heard that saying in my life.
A year before.
I've never in my life heard. I mean, I know Steve Kerr can shoot. I know he could shoot. But I never heard him ever in my life be called the greatest three-point shooter ever. Or most accurate three-point shooter ever.
They also added Steve Kerr, the most accurate three-point shooter ever. And together with a defensive dog, Ron Harper,
I've never heard that in my life.
Kukoc,
Can you let me know?
Who was the most
something
versatile
about that?
power forward in the
I've
NBA.
never heard him.
Never
heard him be considered in that conversation.
In the 1996 season, the Bulls were so good that
I
they
know he
became
could shoot
only
though.
the second team in NBA history
But I didn't know he was
lead
that.
the NBA
I didn't know he could shoot that
and
good.
defensive rating. And their plus 13.4 net rating is still the best ever. Their 72-10 record was the best of all time, and of course, Jordan won an MVP, averaging 36-4. As for the playoffs, there was no stopping the Bulls. Only the Sonics in the finals showed any kind of resistance, and Gary Payton was the first defender to have slowed down Michael, but he couldn't beat him, and Chicago won their 4th title, with Michael crying his guts out in the locker room because it was the first championship he won without his father.
I know he's watching. This is for Daddy. I'm very happy for him.
He's a voice of reason that always drove and challenged me. That's the type of father I had.
Like a friend?
Yeah, like a friend.
And when the 1997 season started, the Bulls continued to rule the NBA. With 4 Hall of Famers, the most accurate three-point shooter of all time, and other excellent role players, no team could match up with Chicago. Running the triangle like a well-oiled machine, the Bulls dominated the regular season with 69 wins, and getting to the finals seemed like a walk in the park, as they only lost 2 games in 3 playoff series. But in the finals, it wasn't that easy, because they played the formidable duo of Stockton and Malone and the Utah Jazz. This series would be remembered by the infamous flu game, where Jordan suffered from food poisoning and had a fever before the pivotal Game 5 when the series was tied. But Jordan played through the illness and managed to squeeze every atom of strength to score 38 points, and the Bulls won. It was 72-10, bro. In Game 6, Jordan trusted Steve Kerr with the final shot, and Kerr hit a jumper for the win in the final seconds.
That's really 5 in a row.
When
No.
the 1998 season started, the Bulls were running on fumes. Pippen had injury problems and disputes with management.
I don't know, it might be.
Rodman was more reckless than ever, but they still had Michael. Even though he wasn't as athletic as before and his efficiency decreased, Jordan was still capable of winning games by himself. The Bulls finished with 62 wins despite Pippen missing half the season, and that's why Jordan was named NBA MVP for the 5th time. In the playoffs, the Bulls survived the Indiana Pacers in the Eastern Finals, winning Game 7 by 5 points. And then, in the finals, Utah awaited again, hungrier than ever. In a tough defensive series where neither team scored points, Jordan proved his clutch factor once again, hitting arguably the most famous shot in NBA history over Byron Russell.
Open. Chicago with the lead.
6 championships in 8 years, with 6 awards for the Finals MVP, and Jordan achieved basketball immortality.
And if this is the final chapter, what a way to close the book.
After 1998, Jordan retired for the 2nd time, which was the end of his prime, and we can sum up his career with the Bulls in 3 parts. The first part being between 1984 and 1990, when he was easily the most athletic player in the NBA, a scoring machine beating players with speed,
Did he retire 3 times?
Defenders stuck in the mud. But basketball is a team sport, and Jordan didn't have enough quality teammates around him, and those who he did have, he didn't trust. The second part was the first three-peat, when he slowed down a bit and wasn't going 100 miles per hour on every possession. MJ was then physically stronger, he became a master of all facets of the game, improved his shot, and started trusting his teammates. And then came the second three-peat, where the Bulls had the deepest and most versatile team in the NBA. The Bulls with Pippen, rookie Kukoc, and Kerr won 55 games in the 1994 season, and they played without Jordan, Rodman, and Harper, who was maybe the most underrated teammate MJ ever had.
Harper.
When they all got together in 1996, it was game over for the league. But having good teammates is essential to winning in the NBA, especially when you're past your physical prime. Jordan lost a chunk of his quickness during the second three-peat, but that's like when a Ferrari loses 100 horsepower. It's still a faster
Ferrari
than almost anything else on the road. And that answers the question, how good was Michael Jordan actually? Even when he wasn't at his best, Jordan was still the best player in the league.
Crazy.
If you divide his career into 3 parts, each part would suffice for a Hall of Fame career. In his first 6 seasons, Jordan didn't win a ring, but he was the most electrifying athlete the NBA had ever seen, with unreal stats and winning all possible accolades. The first three-peat was Jordan at his best, showcasing a level of basketball that's rare and few, if any, have touched. And with his second three-peat, the Bulls won 72, 69, and 62 games in the regular season, and capped it off with 3 championship rings, losing just 13 games in 12 playoff series from 1996 to 1998. The only season of his career where Jordan wasn't the best player in the league was probably just his rookie season. Jordan was the best player in the world for over a decade, something that can be said only of 3 other players: Wilt, Kareem, and LeBron. But while Kareem's individual and team accomplishments are similar to MJ's, Jabbar wasn't the best player on his team for 3 of his 6 championships, and he only has 2 Finals MVPs compared to Jordan's 6. Wilt's scoring numbers from the 60s were impossible to reach even for Jordan, but he only won 2 titles and was constantly losing to Bill Russell. And finally, there's LeBron, who might be the most complete basketball player ever, and due to his longevity, he is the statistical GOAT. But LeBron only has 4 titles and has lost 6 times in the finals, including the 2011 dud against the Mavs, where he played a catastrophic series that cost Miami the championship. And that's something that never happened to Jordan. And because of his decade of dominance,
Jordan ain't doing
6-0
that. Jordan
record in
ain't
the
did that.
finals with 6 finals
Jordan was never the
MVPs,
reason that his
and
team lost.
the biggest impact on NBA popularity worldwide, it's hard to say that Jordan wasn't the greatest player to ever touch a basketball. Speaking of Jordan, we've got another video about...
Hey, man. I learned a lot. I'm not gonna lie. I learned a lot. And I respect Jordan. You feel me? Like, I respect Jordan, and I know who the GOAT is now. You feel me? Like, I understand why he the GOAT. You feel me? I understand everything now. That's all I needed. Try boys like this video, leave a like, comment what y'all want me to react to, and your thoughts on this video. If you guys are new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe. We going in for that big 500, because again, you feel me? But if y'all boys like this video, leave a like, comment, and subscribe. And it's been over, Ron, and I'm out, man.